Hey everyone, welcome to today's Explainer. We're about to break down one of the most dangerous, heavily armed, and, frankly, unbelievable confrontations in American law enforcement history. We're looking at a single 44-minute window that didn't just turn a Los Angeles suburb into an absolute war zone, but literally changed how police departments operate and equip themselves across the entire country, forever.
All right, let's just dive right into it. The time is exactly 9:17 a.m. on Friday, February 28, 1997. Picture this. Two men, covered nearly head to toe in military-grade Kevlar body armor, have just walked through the glass doors of Branch 384 of the Bank of America in North Hollywood. They are armed to the teeth, and they are looking for a massive payday.
Section 1, 9:17 a.m. The heist begins at Branch 384, North Hollywood.
But as fate would have it, a passing LAPD patrol cruiser actually spots them going in, so milliseconds before the heist officially begins, the police are already calling in a 211, an armed robbery in progress. Inside the bank, total chaos erupts. The robbers announce the holdup, they fire warning shots into the ceiling, and quickly set their sights on the bulletproof door blocking the vault. Using these heavily modified, fully automatic Norinco rifles, they completely shatter a door that was really only designed to stop small-caliber rounds. It's intense. But to really grasp how this extreme escalation even happened, we need to pause the clock right here at 9:17 a.m., freeze time, and look at exactly how we got to this point.
Section 2. The Making of the Bandits. Origins at Gold's Gym.
To understand this, we've got to rewind to a Gold's Gym in Venice Beach, California. This is where the roots of the North Hollywood shootout were really planted. It's here that two very different men bonded over bodybuilding, firearms, and most importantly, a deep-seated philosophical hatred for authority and the world at large. You've got a stark contrast in backgrounds here. On one side, Larry Phillips Jr. He's an LA native, a prolific real estate scammer who grew up around an ex-con father who was always in trouble. And then, right next to him, Emil Matasareanu, a college-educated Romanian immigrant with a huge IQ who carried the deep trauma of watching his home country violently collapse on live TV back in 1989. Despite taking completely different paths in life, they perfectly mirrored each other's intense anger toward the world and the authorities who ran it.
Now, that shared anti-authority streak got them into serious trouble in October of 1993. During what should have been a routine traffic stop by an undercover Glendale detective in a stolen rental car, the police uncovered an absolutely absurd arsenal. I mean, we're talking an extended mag Glock, a Norinco rifle with 1,700 rounds of ammo, smoke bombs, improvised explosive devices, and, almost comically, wigs and just-for-men gray hair dye. They were fully loaded for professional, high-stakes crime. Yet, remarkably, they both somehow walked away with less than a year in jail.
Section 3. Escalation and Preparation. From armored cars to takeovers.
That lenient sentence? Yeah, it didn't deter them at all. It completely emboldened them. Just look at this incredibly violent progression over the next few years. They went from violent outlaws to terrifyingly efficient, highly professional armed robbers. They started off by stalking and ambushing Brink's armored trucks in 1995, but by May of 1996, they had graduated to full-scale bank takeovers. Get this, they netted a staggering $1.6 million in a span of just 30 days. Their tactics were so overwhelming and aggressive that the FBI actually officially upgraded their moniker from the AK-47 Bandits to the High-Incident Bandits. And this leads us to a horrifying tactical mismatch for their ultimate target, Branch 384. On one side, you have the robbers' loadout. We're talking Level 3A Kevlar, completely covering their torsos and extremities, making them virtually invincible to small arms fire. They had full-auto Norincos, heavy-hitting rifles, and they even literally dosed themselves with phenobarbital, which is a nervous system depressant, just to artificially suppress their anxiety and keep their nerves ice-cold during the heist. On the other side, the LAPD, equipped with standard, completely unarmored police cruisers and standard 9mm sidearms.
Section 4. The 44-Minute War. The Climax.
So with that terrifying mismatch established, let's snap the clock right back to 9:17 a.m. Down in the bank vault, these guys expected to walk away with at least $2 million. Instead, they forced the tellers to pack the bags and find only $303,000. This massive shortfall just sends Matasareanu into a blind rage. In his sheer frustration, he violently empties an entire 75-round drum magazine directly into the remaining vault cache, totally destroying what's left.
Now, while Matasareanu is losing his mind in the vault, Phillips steps toward the exit lobby, and what he notices outside is chilling.
It's an absolute eerie silence. There is zero foot traffic, not a single car on the usually busy roadway. The only things he can hear are the distant hum of the freeway, the approaching wail of LAPD sirens, and the popping sound of exploding die packs inside their money bags, which basically renders their stolen cash completely useless anyway. He instantly realizes the police are out there waiting for them.
The officers outside were totally expecting a standard barricade situation. You know, they were waiting to set up a perimeter, negotiate. Instead, Phillips just storms right out of the ATM lobby and initiates a horrifying full-scale firefight. He begins spraying rounds absolutely everywhere, immediately injuring 7 officers and 3 civilians from 200 feet away. The police returned fire, but their 9mm rounds are literally bouncing harmlessly off the robbers' heavy Kevlar armor. As elite LAPD SWAT teams scramble to get to the scene, Phillips even uses his heavy rifle to snipe a KCAL-9 news helicopter right out of the sky, actually hitting its rear stabilizer.
Amidst all this unbelievable chaos and a constant hail of automatic gunfire, an LAPD officer named James Zaborovan, who was literally only a few months out of the police academy, somehow manages to get a shot off that actually wounds Phillips. Zaborovan then dives across his fellow officers to draw fire away from them and seeks cover inside a nearby dental office. In an absolutely incredible act of bravery, the local dentist, Dr. Jorge Montes, quickly converts his practice into a makeshift emergency room to treat the bleeding officers.
Realizing their standard sidearms are basically useless, a group of officers actually raids a nearby local gun store to secure heavier caliber weapons. They rush back to the scene and finally manage to disable Phillips' HK-91 rifle. Desperate, Phillips picks up his Norinco, but it immediately stovepipes, which is a really complex mechanical jam that he just doesn't know how to clear. Realizing the end is here and he's out of options, Phillips pulls out his backup Beretta and tragically chooses to end his own life right there on the street.
Meanwhile, his partner Matasareanu is desperately attempting to escape by hijacking a civilian truck. But LAPD SWAT spots the move and pins him down in this brutal, grounded firefight right around the truck's engine block. With absolutely no clean angle on his heavily armored torso, SWAT officer Rick Massa makes a brilliant tactical decision. He drops completely flat on the pavement, spots Matasareanu's exposed, unarmored feet beneath the vehicle, and shoots him twice in the ankles. Matasareanu collapses to the ground, wildly skipping rounds underneath the car back at the SWAT team.
The SWAT team returns fire, and after being shot an astonishing 29 times, Matasareanu finally surrenders. As they secure him in handcuffs, Matasareanu looks up at Officer Massa and actually asks the cop to just finish him off, to which Officer Massa chillingly and professionally replies, "I'll see you in court." However, Matasareanu would never make it to a courtroom. He succumbed to his severe wounds 56 minutes later.
Section 5. The Aftermath and Legacy. Changing the Face of American Policing.
The 44-minute war had finally come to a close. But as the smoke cleared over North Hollywood and SWAT rescued the trapped bank employees from the vault, it became very clear that this incident's permanent impact on American law enforcement was really only just beginning. Just look at the sheer scale of the battle. It was unbelievable. The robbers fired close to 1,200 rounds of high-velocity ammunition. The LAPD returned approximately 650 rounds. That means nearly 2,000 rounds were exchanged on a quiet suburban Friday morning in Los Angeles.
And yet, the most miraculous takeaway from this entire terrifying ordeal is simply zero. Despite being severely outgunned, heavily outarmored, and taking significant injuries, the incredibly brave actions of the responding police officers prevented a single civilian or officer fatality throughout the entire 44 minutes. It's honestly astounding.
The legacy of this event was immediate and massive. Law enforcement realized that they could literally never be outgunned by criminals like this ever again. The LAPD almost immediately received 600 M16 rifles direct from the Pentagon, which officially birthed the era and the modern requirement of the patrol rifle for standard beat cops, a standard we still see nationwide today. A year later, 19 LAPD officers received Medals of Valor from President Bill Clinton, and the whole event burned itself into pop culture, inspiring everything from Megadeth songs to major Hollywood movies and documentaries.
Which leaves us with this final thought as we wrap up today's explainer. We saw a day where extreme criminal firepower required a heavily armed, militarized response to save civilian lives. It effectively birthed the modern, heavily equipped police force we know today. But it asks a really profound question. When incidents like this necessitate such heavy weaponry, how does that permanent militarization alter the day-to-day dynamic of policing on our streets? It's a highly complex legacy, born out of 44 terrifying minutes in North Hollywood, and definitely something well worth thinking about.
Thanks so much for learning with us today.